Hello everybody! Horror film moments instill different sorts of fear in us. The jump scares shock us in horror. The gruesome killings disturb us, often to the point of complete discomfort, and purely eerie characters give us goosebumps. Although the scenes that scare us the most are the ones that leave most of it up to our own imagination. Here's the 10 scariest scenes in horror movies. Shower scene, The Shining. The Shining has numerous scenes with terror, suspense, and surreal nature that make the skin crawl and have caused endless sleepless nights. Jack goes to investigate room 237, where apparently there's a crazy woman who attempted to strangle Danny. In this scene, Jack walks into the bathroom because he can see someone in the bathtub. It turns out to be a beautiful young woman who stands up and starts making out with Jack. Then, the gorgeous naked woman has all of a sudden transformed into a rotten, grotesque corpse of an elderly lady. Hospital scene, Exorcist III. There's no question that the original Exorcist is a classic of horror cinema, but the lesser-watched Exorcist III, also known as Legion, contains one of the most effective scares in movie history. What seems like an unbearable, long, extremely wide shot builds tension effectively, almost because so little seems to be happening. Thus, when the terrifying twist finally happens, it will have you begging for the days of Little Regan and her split pea soup. The Taking of Deborah Logan. The Taking of Deborah Logan may not be familiar for some people. It's considered by some critics as one of the most underrated horror movies of all time. However, this movie could be very disturbing and unforgettable. Get ready to stay awake this Halloween night with these scary scenes. Towards the end of the film, the possessed Deborah Logan unhinges her jaw like a snake and completely swallows the head of a young girl. And it's such a shocking moment that my mind initially couldn't even comprehend what I was seeing. I had to rewind the movie just to make sure I saw what I thought I saw, and that image hasn't left my mind since. The Conjuring 2. The movie opens in the legendary Amityville house. In this very house, Ronnie DeFeo stated that demonic presence made him carry out a series of brutal murders. Continuing with the opening sequence, there's a scene where Lorianne reenacts the DeFeo killings. Here, she faces a terrifying apparition, an eerie creature with penetrating yellow eyes dressed in a nun's habit. The creature serves her with a vision of her husband's brutal death. A very creepy scene to say the least, although this movie is filled with other spooky scenes and, of course, a bunch of jump scares. Crying scene, Blair Witch Project. Few viewers were left unscathed by this massive indie horror hit, which ingenuously utilized faux found footage shot on video in 16mm to follow a group of film students trying to document an alleged witch phenomenon in backwoods Maryland. Employing one of the genre's cardinal rules that the less you know, the scarier you make it. The crying scene in the forest being the scariest. Directors Danielle Merrick and Eduardo Sanchez would inspire hundreds of imitators, but none of them would whip together a movie so straightforwardly fearful. Waving at Yourself 1408. John Cusack plays a classic King character as a troubled author in this hotel-based horror. In this effective scene, he appears to be trying to get help from himself. Weird enough alone, but then something rather scary happens. As Cusack, attempts to get help from a stranger from across the street, he slowly realizes he's waving at himself. And just as he learns this, he looks in the reflection of the window and sees a creepy clown running at him with a weapon. Television scene, The Ring. The American version of this movie leaves a lot to be desired in comparison with the original Japanese film, but one area where it leveled up from the source material is special effects. The scene where the scary-looking woman appears on the television and starts walking towards the camera, then out of the screen and attacks her first victim, seemed to scare most that has watched it. People who know their movies definitely don't forget this scene. It is now one of the most iconic scenes within the thriller horror movie genre. Dinner table scene, Insidious. In this movie, a married couple, Josh and Renee, their sons Dalton and Foster, and infant daughter Callie, have recently moved into a new home. This movie was, I think for most, definitely much scarier than people thought it would be. There are many scary scenes within this movie, although there's one particular where they are all sitting down at the table. One woman is describing what had happened the night before in her home, and as she describes everything, the shadow of a demon appears in her child's bedroom. Breaking ankle scene, Misery. In Rob Reiner's great Stephen King adaptation, we get the defining Kathy Bates nutjob performance as superfan Annie Wilkes, a late-period genius turn from James Caan as the object of her fandom. And this scene, where the extent of Annie's crazy is revealed, It would be a great horror moment no matter how you shot it. But the scene where she refused to let character Paul Sheldon leave the house, and he gets a sledgehammer out and breaks both of the famous writer's ankles, a scene not many people seem to forget. Sloth Scene 7. This movie disturbs on several levels, and you gotta love the work of everyone involved. Fincher's pacing, Morgan Freeman's soul-tired wisdom, Brad Pitt's overconfidence, and Kevin Spacey's chilling calmness. Out of those scenes, however, the one that messed most people up the most involved a jumping cat people never saw coming. The sloth scene not only has the immediate impact, afterward there is a slow reveal, a pine cone in the mud, opening rough petals to show that there is more than at first thought. It's after this scene that the real horror sets in. For more creepy videos like this, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks for watching, and sweet dreams. Sweet dreams.